Hi, it's Bobby with Office Tracker. Today we're going to go over changing or deleting a name in Office Tracker. You may want to delete a user or resource name from the server if the user is no longer working with your organization or the resource is no longer available for scheduling. First, we will go over how to change the spelling of a name on the server list. Once you have logged into your Office Tracker server admin page, you will click on Names List and Show Names List. I'm going to pull up one of the names on my list. Click on the name. From here you can edit the name of the user. I'm going to change it to Dalton D. And say Update Name. Changing the name of this user or resource will change the name of all associated events, both past and future. Are you sure you want to change this name? Click OK to continue. Some of the reasons that you may want to update the name would be, say you had another Dalton join your organization and you needed to differentiate between the two different employees. Another reason that you might change the name is if a new employee came in and took the same position that a former employee had, and you want all of the events to appear on the schedule that were formerly for the employee that left on the new employee's schedule. You could simply just change the name from one employee to the next. Changing the spelling of a name on the server will require client users with saved views to remove the old name and add the new name. Let's see how to do that now. When you're in the desktop client, you would click on the names list on the icon. You will notice this error message pops up saying there's a missing name because Dalton was included on my saved view. And say OK. Now what you need to do is you need to exclude the name that we changed. So here's the original name of Dalton. I'm going to exclude to put him back on the left, and I'm going to add the new name, Dalton D. I'm going to include it and say OK. When you change a name, all the events are updated in the database to reflect the new name. Now let's look at deleting a name from the system. When you delete a name, it is not actually removed from the database. It is flagged as not visible by the system. Removing a name means that some client users will have saved views with the removed name still included. Unless you want client users to be able to access the information for historical record keeping, they should be instructed to remove the name from their saved views as well. This is done in the same way we just removed the name that we had changed, the Dalton name, how we excluded him in the names. You do the same thing with names that you had deleted, that they no longer wanted to see in their view. Once a name is removed from the server and the client has received a full update, the name will no longer display in the names available list. The client user will get a message each time they open a view with the old name included to let them know that this name no longer exists on the server. It will be similar to the pop-up that we saw in the previous window. So let's delete a name. I'm going to click on Dan. He no longer works here. And I'm going to say delete name. It does give you a quick little message just making sure you really want to delete the name. It says, are you sure you want to delete this name from the Office Tracker server? This will not remove the name from any associated events. We'll look at how to do that in a moment. I'm going to say OK. The following name was deleted. OK. So any events that Dan had scheduled in the past still appear on the schedule, but he is no longer available to be scheduled for future events. This is to preserve the history of that user or resource's schedule. Your current client users will no longer have access to the deleted user's name from their name shown and attendees list. If you delete a name by accident, you can reactivate the name by re-entering it at the Office Tracker server's name list exactly as you had before. So you would just click on Add Name and set Dan back up. It would have to be exactly the same as far as spacings and capitalization. If you wish to remove a name from all associated events, past and future, you would click on Event Manager, delete events, enter the date range for the events that you want to search for, and then select that attendee. And say delete. Are you sure you want to delete these events from the Office Tracker server? If you do this, you cannot add that user back in the way that I just showed you if you had simply just deleted the name. If you do this, all records with that person's name attached to it are gone from the system. There is no way to add them back in or to see the past history. If you prefer not to delete a name, you can instead restrict the sharing privileges for all users. So you can go to Sharing Privileges. You set user privileges where they cannot view a specific resource, then that resource will not show up on the client user windows. Saved views on the desktop client will need to be updated by the user when prompted. So for schedules, events, and contacts owned by, you would select the name of the employee that is no longer there or the resource that is no longer available. Give access privileges below to everyone, and you would remove all of these options. So all of the information is still there, but nobody can view it, edit it, add it, delete it. They cannot do anything to the schedule for that name that you are restricting the privileges for. That about covers it for today. Make sure to follow us on Facebook for more handy tips and tricks. Happy scheduling!